Hey everyone. So, I've been dreading making this video for a long time. It's hard to even find the words, and honestly, a part of me wants to just delete it and pretend none of this ever happened. But I can't. I need to get this off my chest. I I cheated on my husband, and it was with our neighbor. My husband James is a good man, a really good man. We've been together for 12 years, married for 8. We have a comfortable life, a beautiful house in a quiet suburban street, a steady routine. And that was part of the problem, I think, the routine, the sameness. It had become less about us and more about parallel living. He worked long, demanding hours in the city. I worked from home, often feeling a deep sense of isolation. Our conversations were functional, about bills, groceries, whose turn it was to walk the dog, what we needed from the hardware store. The spark, it just wasn't there anymore. Or maybe I wasn't seeing it, wasn't trying hard enough to find it, caught up in my own quiet discontent. I felt unseen, unheard, and gradually a little bit lost in the comfort of our predictable existence. Then David moved in next door. Single, late 30s, recently divorced. He was everything James wasn't in that particular moment. New, available, and full of a restless energy. He was friendly, always waved, offered to help with my heavy groceries when he saw me struggling, or lent a hand when I was wrestling with a particularly stubborn garden hose. At first, it was just neighborly kindness. Harmless, I told myself. We'd chat over the fence about garden issues, or if either of us had seen that stray cat that wandered our street. But slowly, subtly, the conversations shifted. He'd ask how my day was, and actually listen, leaning against the fence with genuine interest. He'd compliment something small, my new haircut, the scarf I was wearing, things James hadn't noticed in years, or if he did, he didn't voice them. It felt intoxicating to be noticed again, truly noticed. I found myself looking forward, to seeing him. A little tremor, a nervous flutter would start in my stomach whenever I saw his car in the driveway, knowing there was a chance we'd cross paths. Excited. It felt exciting, new, dangerous. And that danger, that undercurrent of forbidden possibility, was exhilarating, especially when compared to the comfortable, predictable safety of my own life. I felt a yearning for something more, something I couldn't quite articulate, something that made my heart beat faster. It started innocently enough, a glass of wine on his patio one evening after James was away on a business trip. Then another. We talked for hours, really talked, about dreams we'd given up on, regrets we carried, the things that made us laugh until our sides hurt, the things that kept us up at night. Things I hadn't shared with James in ages, not truly, not with that level of raw vulnerability. The air between us was thick with something I couldn't quite name, but I felt it humming, a palpable tension, an undeniable pull. As I was about to leave, making my excuses about an early morning, he reached for my hand, just to say, "Thank you for the company." His touch was electric. It sent a jolt right through me, a shock of pure adrenaline. My heart hammered against my ribs, loud and frantic. I pulled my hand away quickly, my cheeks burning, muttered a goodnight, and practically ran back to my own house, my head spinning. I lay awake that night, my mind replaying every word, every look, every nuance of our evening. I hated myself for it. I was married. I loved my husband. But there was this hunger, this aching void inside me that David's presence seemed to temporarily fill. A few days later, James was still away. David knocked on my door, ostensibly to return a tool he'd borrowed. We stood there, on my porch, just looking at each other. The words were unnecessary, the air thrumming with unspoken desire. He stepped closer, cupped my face in his hands, and kissed me. And I kissed him back. The world tilted on its axis. It was reckless, forbidden, terrifying, and utterly, unbelievably intoxicating. Every fiber of my being screamed, "Wrong!" But every other fiber just wanted more, wanted to drown in the sensation, in the sheer thrill of it. That first kiss led to others, then to hushed, hurried encounters in his house, or mine when James was working late or away. The thrill of it was addictive, a powerful drug. The sheer audacity, the risk of discovery. My heart would pound so hard in my chest during those moments, I was sure David could hear it. It was like I was living a double life, a secret world where I was desirable, exciting, alive. He made me feel seen, wanted, beautiful, feelings I hadn't realized I was so starved for until he offered them so freely. I'd tell James I was going to yoga or meeting a friend for coffee, when really I was sneaking over to David's. The lies started small, then grew. They became easier to tell, slipping off my tongue with practiced ease, but harder to live with. Each lie was a brick in a wall separating me further from James and from the person I used to be. The sex was passionate, intense, born of urgency and secrecy. It was nothing like the comfortable, sometimes routine intimacy I shared with James. It was fire. Pause. And I was playing with matches, knowing deep down I'd eventually get burned and take James down with me. The highs were incredible, almost transcendent in their fleeting intensity, but the lows were devastating. Afterwards, the guilt would wash over me in waves, cold and suffocating, making my stomach clench. I'd go home, look at James, and feel a sickness deep in my gut. He'd hug me, kiss me goodnight, and I'd flinch internally, feeling like a complete fraud, a deceptive shell of a wife. His touch, which once felt comforting, now felt like a brand of hypocrisy on my skin. I'd try to compensate, being overly attentive, making his favorite meals, planning date nights, trying desperately to mend something I was actively shattering, trying to soothe my own tormented conscience. Every time he'd talk about our future, about our plans, a knot would tighten in my stomach, pulling me deeper into despair. I saw his trust, his love, his pure, innocent belief in me, and it magnified my betrayal tenfold. I started having trouble sleeping, replaying conversations, replaying touches, tormented by the vivid memories. Crying. My appetite dwindled. My friends started asking if I was okay, if I was stressed. I'd just shrug and say I was fine. Whispers another lie to add to the growing pile. The secrecy was consuming me, slowly, insidiously, carving away at my very soul. One afternoon, David and I were in his living room. It was late, almost time for James to be home. I was supposed to be at the gym. We were laughing, caught up in the moment, completely oblivious, when suddenly I heard a car door slam from the street. My blood ran cold. It sounded exactly like James's car. Panic seized me, a visceral, sickening dread. I scrambled, grabbing my clothes from the floor, my heart pounding like a drum against my ribs. "Oh my God, he's home early," I whispered, my voice trembling, barely audible. David tried to calm me, his hand reaching out, but I was already out the back door, running across our lawns, tearing through the overgrown bushes that separated our properties, my lungs burning, my mind screaming. I barely made it into my own front door, throwing myself onto the couch, pretending to be engrossed in a book as James walked in moments later, his keys jingling. He didn't notice anything unusual. He just asked about my workout. My hands were shaking so badly I had to hide them under the cushion, my breath catching in my throat. That was it. That near miss. The sheer, overwhelming terror of being caught, of seeing James's face when he found out. It ripped through the intoxicating fog of the affair and showed me the ugly, stark reality of my actions. It wasn't just my life I was destroying. It was his too. He didn't deserve this. He deserved honesty, loyalty, and love, not this messy, deceitful web of lies and betrayal. The thrill, which had once been so powerful, now tasted like ash in my mouth. It wasn't excitement anymore. It was pure, unadulterated fear, a crushing weight of potential destruction. I ended it with David that night, over the phone, my voice flat, hollow, devoid of any emotion other than a profound sadness. He tried to argue, tried to persuade me, but I was resolute. It was over. He understood, I think. He knew the risk as much as I did. That call was one of the hardest things I've ever done, a final, painful severing. But it was nothing compared to the decision I had to make next. I've spent weeks, months, agonizing. Do I tell James? Can our marriage survive if I do? Can it survive if I don't? Living with the secret is a punishment worse than anything he could do to me, a constant, suffocating weight that makes it hard to breathe. Every time I look at him, I see the man I vowed to love and honor, and I see the woman who so carelessly broke that vow. I see his kindness, his unwavering belief in me, and I know I have to tell him. I owe him the truth. I owe him the chance to decide if he can forgive me or if he needs to walk away. It's the only way I can ever hope to find peace, to truly understand what I've done, and to potentially, maybe, start rebuilding something from the wreckage I've created. So, here I am. Raw, vulnerable, terrified. I haven't told him yet. This is my confession. To myself, to the universe, and soon, to him. I don't know what tomorrow holds. I don't know if I can ever truly forgive myself for the pain I've caused and the pain I am about to cause. But I know that the thrill of that forbidden connection, the fleeting excitement, was never worth the agonizing cost. It was a selfish act, born of a void within me that I should have addressed differently, honestly, within my marriage, with my husband. I wish I could go back and tell myself to talk to James, to communicate, to seek help, to do anything but betray the man I love. All I can do now is face the consequences, accept the pain, and hope that somehow, one day, I can be a better, more honest person.